We're going to look at two ways in particular of working at and building healthy relationships with our wider family members, whoever that is. The first way is by doing what we can to resolve any conflict. Just as in marriage, unresolved hurt and anger lead to disconnection between husband and wife, as in the analogy of the blocked drain in the last session. So it is with our wider family. A relationship could have broken down or become strained while we were growing up, or since we've got married. Whichever it is, we can use the same process that we looked at in the last session for healing hurt.
So we need to start by identifying the issue. Talking about it with our partner, maybe for the first time, will help us to become clear about the main source of the tension. Where there's been hurt on either side, the other two parts of the process, saying sorry and forgiving, make healing the relationship possible.
Now, obviously, that's hard, especially with family, as our pride can so easily get in the way. But we have to do our part. It's so powerful when we take the initiative and say sorry or forgive where that's appropriate.
My mother-in-law and I had a great relationship, but from time to time over the years, we clashed and there was tension, or one or other of us said things that were hurtful. My mother-in-law, like me, was at the rhino end of the spectrum, and we both had very strong opinions about things. As a result, I have had to swallow my pride and apologize to her on many occasions. But I remember one occasion a few years back when we were staying with her, and she said something to me about my father, who was very unwell at the time, that really hurt and upset me. So much so that I just burst into tears and rushed out of the room and upstairs to our bedroom.
That left me with my mother, having to explain why Stella was so upset by what she said. It had occurred a number of times before, so I knew exactly why Stella had reacted as she did.
And the next thing I knew was she was knocking on our bedroom door, and very graciously she had come to apologize for upsetting me. Of course, I was touched that she had come to say sorry, but I struggled to forgive her, as I knew she still didn't really understand why I was so upset. So I sort of mumbled a thank you, but I knew I hadn't forgiven her. However, I had been running this course for long enough to know that if I didn't, it was going to spoil our relationship and probably affect my relationship with Nikki as well. Anyway, we left the next morning to return home, and for 2 weeks, I really didn't want to talk to her on the phone. But I knew I had to choose every day to forgive her in my heart and to let go of the hurt. And I found that really hard. But actually, talking to Nikki about the incident helped me to process the hurt I felt. And also asking God to help me forgive my mother-in-law made a massive difference. I knew eventually, when the hurt was healed, as I could phone her again, and we were absolutely fine.
When we've been hurt, it's only forgiveness that brings healing. And only we ourselves know if we're holding on to anger and resentment. If we have children, keeping our relationships right with our parents and in-laws will affect our children's relationships with their grandparents. Some grandparents may be playing a big part in caring for our children, in which case, keeping the lines of communication open with them, while resisting any kind of manipulation, will be important.
And a grandchild-grandparent relationship is unique and special, and we need to do all we can to make it as good as it can be. A second way of building these relationships with our wider family is to consider their needs. In any relationship, focusing on what irritates us about each other will push us apart, whereas focusing on each other's needs draws us together.
Inevitably, parents are at a different stage in life to us, and it's a great help to try to put ourselves into their shoes. Personally, Stella and I have found it helpful when we've taken the initiative with our parents about things like visiting them, enabling them to see their grandchildren, working out what holidays we might spend together, and phoning them. I started a habit of phoning my mum every Saturday morning at 9:30, and it made a big difference to my relationship with her to have a regular time like this. The Bible's very clear. Honor your parents. That means respecting them, considering their needs and expressing our love for them. And this still applies after we're married.
When we become an adult, it means we're no longer responsible to our parents, but as they grow older, we become increasingly responsible for them. They'll need more of our support, And the moment might arrive when they are totally dependent on us, as we were once totally dependent on them.